The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a soft hiss. Every being in the room turned to look. Some used eyes. Some used sensors. Some used organs that humans had no words for. But all of them focused on the two figures walking through the entrance. Commander. Danny Sullivan stepped into the chamber first. He was a tall man with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. He wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's United Space Command. Beside him walked Lieutenant Katie Morgan. She had auburn hair tied back in a simple ponytail and green eyes that moved constantly. Taking in every detail of the massive room around them, the council chamber was enormous. It was built to hold representatives from over 200 species. The ceiling rose so high that clouds of vapor drifted near the top. Platforms of different sizes floated at various heights, each one designed for the specific needs of its occupants. Some platforms held water. Some were heated to extreme temperatures. Some were filled with gases that would kill a human in seconds. Danny had studied the briefing materials for weeks. He knew what to expect. But knowing something and experiencing it were very different things. The whispers started immediately. Danny's translator, a small device implanted behind his ear, picked up fragments of conversation from across the chamber. "Deathworlders," someone said. "They actually came," another voice added. "They walk on two legs like the Deshans, but their movements are different. More efficient. More dangerous?" High Chancellor Morthix floated at the center of the chamber. He was an ancient being, over 1,000 years old by Earth's counting. His body resembled a jellyfish from Earth's oceans, with a translucent dome and dozens of long tentacles that trailed beneath him. His species, the Venery, had founded the Galactic Council over 50,000 years ago. "The representatives from Sol 3 may approach," Morthix announced. His voice was soft and musical, but the translator gave it a formal tone. Danny and Katie walked forward. Their boots made soft sounds against the smooth floor. Every step seemed to echo in the sudden silence that had fallen over the chamber. As they passed the delegation from the Velkari Consortium, Danny noticed the ambassador physically recoil. The Velkari were crystalline beings, beautiful and fragile. Their homeworld had gravity less than half of Earth's. To them, Danny and Katie must have looked like walking tanks. The Kyrix delegation watched them with compound eyes that never blinked. The Kyrix were insectoid, with hard shells and multiple limbs. They had evolved on a world where the most dangerous predator was a small creature roughly the size of Earth's housecat. They had never developed the concept of an apex predator till they encountered other species in the galaxy. Danny stopped at the designated spot, a circle of light on the floor, about 20 meters from Morthix's platform. Katie stood beside him, her posture relaxed but ready. Old habits from her military training never really went away. "I am Commander Danny Sullivan of Earth's United Space Command," Danny said. His voice was steady and clear. "This is Lieutenant Katie Morgan. We come as representatives of humanity to formally request membership in the Galactic Council." Morthix's tentacles rippled in a pattern that Danny's briefing materials identified as thoughtful consideration. "Your request has been received and recorded. However, before the Council can consider your petition, there are matters that must be addressed." "We understand," Danny replied. "We are prepared to answer any questions the Council may have." A new voice spoke up from one of the higher platforms. "I have a question." Danny looked up. The speaker was Ambassador Zilveth of the Veshan Collective. The Veshans were humanoid in shape, but taller and thinner than humans, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They were one of the oldest spacefaring species in the galaxy and considered themselves the most civilized. "Please proceed," Ambassador Morthix said. Zilveth leaned forward on his platform. "Your species comes from a world that our scientists have classified as a Category 12 death world. Are you aware of what this means?" Danny nodded. "We are aware of the classification system. We are also aware that Earth received the highest danger rating of any known inhabited world." "And yet you seem proud of this fact," Zilveth observed. His tone carried a mixture of confusion and disgust. Katie spoke for the first time. "We are not proud of it, Ambassador. We simply accept it as reality. Earth is our home. We did not choose the conditions we evolved in. Perhaps not, another voice called out. This came from the Morvax delegation. The Morvax were aquatic beings who attended council sessions in specially designed water tanks. But you did choose to leave your world and venture into space. You chose to spread your presence beyond your own system. That was a choice. Danny turned to address the new speaker. Yes, it was. Humanity has always explored. It is part of our nature. When we looked up at the stars, we wanted to know what was out there. We wanted to meet other species, to learn from them, to share what we have learned, to conquer them, Zelvith interrupted. We have studied your history, human. Your species has a long record of violence and conquest. Danny did not deny it. Our history contains darkness. We do not hide from this truth. But our history also contains growth. We have learned from our mistakes. The wars that once divided our species ended generations ago. Humanity is united now. United in what purpose? Morthix asked. The question seemed genuine rather than accusatory. Katie answered. United in the desire to survive and to build a better future. That is what has always driven us. On Earth, survival was never guaranteed. We had to fight for it. We had to work together. We had to adapt to challenges that would have destroyed other species. The chamber fell silent again. Danny could see the effect Katie's words had on the assembled delegates. They were not used to hearing species talk about survival as a struggle. For most of them, survival was simply assumed. Their homeworlds were gentle places with stable climates and few dangers. Morthix floated a little lower, bringing himself closer to eye level with the humans. The Council has many concerns about admitting humanity. Your world, your biology, your history, all of these raise serious questions. Before we can proceed, we must understand what we are dealing with. Danny met the Chancellor's gaze directly. He knew that prolonged eye contact was considered aggressive by many species. But he also knew that looking away would be seen as weakness. Humans could not afford to appear weak here. Then let us help you understand, Danny said. Ask your questions. We will answer honestly. Humanity has nothing to hide. Morthix's tentacles rippled again. Very well. Let us begin with the most basic question. Describe your homeworld. Tell us about the place that created you. Danny took a breath. This was the moment they had prepared for. The moment when the galaxy would learn what it truly meant to be human. He began to speak. Danny paused for a moment before speaking. He looked around the council chamber at the hundreds of alien faces watching him. Some showed curiosity. Some showed fear. Many showed expressions he could not read at all. Earth, he began, is the third planet from our sun. It is a rocky world with a diameter of about 12,700 kilometers. Roughly 70% of the surface is covered by liquid water. A sound of distress came from somewhere in the chamber. Danny continued as if he had not heard it. The remaining 30% is land, divided into several large continents and countless smaller islands. The terrain varies greatly. We have mountains that reach nearly 9 kilometers into the sky. We have valleys that drop below sea level. We have frozen wastelands at the poles and burning deserts at the equator. Katie watched the reactions of the delegates. The Velkari ambassador had turned a pale shade that suggested extreme stress. The Kyriks were clicking their mandibles in what she recognized as nervous behavior. Even the Decians, who usually maintained perfect composure, seemed unsettled. What is the gravity of your world? Morthix asked. Approximately 9.8 meters per second squared, Danny answered. The reaction was immediate. Several delegates began speaking at once. The Velkari ambassador made a sharp sound and had to be steadied by his aides. The Morvax in their water tanks created waves that splashed against the transparent walls. Morthix raised a tentacle for silence. It took several moments for the chamber to calm down. That is nearly twice the gravity of most inhabited worlds in the known galaxy, Morthix said. His voice had lost some of its calm tone. How does your species function under such conditions? Katie stepped forward slightly. We evolved there, Chancellor. Our bodies are adapted to Earth's gravity. Our bones are dense and strong. Our muscles are powerful enough to move efficiently. Our hearts are capable of pumping blood against the constant pull of gravity. To us, it simply feels normal. Normal, the Veshan ambassador repeated. The word came out flat, as if he could not quite believe it. What about your atmosphere? Another delegate called out. This was a small being from a species Danny did not immediately recognize. What do you breathe? Our atmosphere is composed primarily of nitrogen, about 78%, Danny explained. Approximately 21% is oxygen. The remaining 1% consists of various other gases. The chamber erupted again. This time, the sounds were clearly ones of horror. Oxygen. The small delegate shrieked. You breathe oxygen. We require it to survive, Katie confirmed. D. Without oxygen, a human will lose consciousness within minutes and die shortly after. But oxygen is corrosive, the delegate protested. It destroys organic matter. It feeds fires. It is one of the most dangerous gases in the universe. Danny nodded. All of that is true. It is also essential to our biology. Our cells use oxygen to produce energy. The process is called respiration. Every breath we take brings oxygen into our lungs, where it enters our blood and travels to every part of our body. You are oxidizing, Morthix said slowly, as if working through the concept. Constantly. From the inside, in a manner of speaking, yes. Morthix was quiet for a long moment. His tentacles had stopped moving entirely, which Danny's briefing materials suggested indicated deep shock. Let us move on, the Chancellor finally said. Tell us about the temperature conditions on your world. Katie handled this question. Earth's temperature varies significantly based on location and season. In some regions, temperatures can drop to -89 degrees Celsius. In others, they can rise to positive 57 degrees Celsius. That is a range of nearly 150 degrees, Morthix observed. Yes, Chancellor. And humans have lived and worked in both extremes. We have research stations in Antarctica where the coldest temperatures have been recorded. We have settlements in deserts where the heat would kill most species. The Veshan ambassador rose from his seat. How is this possible? How does any biological system adapt to such variations? Danny answered. We regulate our internal temperature. Our bodies maintain a constant temperature of approximately 37 degrees Celsius, regardless of external conditions. We sweat to cool down. We shiver to warm up. We create clothing and shelter to help manage extreme environments. You carry your preferred environment with you, Morthix said. In a sense, yes, but it is more than that. We also change our environment to suit our needs. We build heated structures in cold regions. We create cooling systems in hot regions. We do not simply adapt to our world. We adapt our world to us. The chamber had grown very quiet. Danny could sense that the delegates were beginning to understand something important about humanity, though he was not sure they were ready to accept it. Tell us about water, Morthix requested. You said it covers most of your planet's surface. Yes, Danny said. Our oceans are vast and deep. The deepest point is nearly 11 kilometers below sea level. The pressure there would crush most objects. And you enter this water? Katie smiled slightly. We swim in it. We sail across it in ships. We dive beneath its surface. Some humans spend most of their lives on or in the water. For what purpose? The Morvax delegate asked. This question seemed to come from genuine curiosity rather than fear. Many purposes, Katie replied. Transportation, food gathering, scientific research, recreation. The Morvax's translator conveyed surprise. You enter dangerous water for enjoyment? Many humans enjoy swimming, Katie confirmed. It is considered relaxing. The Morvax delegate sank lower in its tank. It seemed to be processing this information with difficulty. Danny decided to address something that's been lingering unspoken in the chamber. I sense that you are all wondering the same thing. How did we survive? How did any species evolve intelligence on a world like ours? Morthix's tentacles rippled in what might have been agreement. The question has occurred to us. The answer is simple, Danny said. We had no choice. On Earth, everything is trying to kill you. The environment is hostile. The weather is unpredictable. And then there are the other creatures. Other creatures. The Valkyrie ambassador's voice was barely a whisper. Katie nodded. Earth is home to millions of different species. Many of them are predators. Many of them are dangerous to humans. We evolved intelligence because we needed it to survive. We learned to think, to plan, to work together, because the alternative was death. Danny looked directly at Morthix. You asked us to describe our homeworld. This is Earth, a world of extremes, a world of danger, a world that forged humanity in fire and ice and blood. We did not become what we are because our world was kind to us. We became what we are because it was not. The silence that followed lasted a long time. Danny could see the delegates processing his words, trying to fit them into their understanding of the universe. For most of them, this was their first real encounter with the concept of a death world. They had heard stories, of course. But stories were different from looking to death worlders in the eye and hearing them speak. Calmly about the horrors of their home, finally, Morthix spoke. I think we need to hear more about these other creatures you mentioned. These predators. Danny and Katie exchanged a glance. They both knew this was where things would get really interesting. Of course, Chancellor, Danny said. Let me tell you about sharks. Danny activated the holographic projector on his wrist unit. A three-dimensional image appeared in the center of the council chamber. It's floating in the air, where every delegate could see it clearly. The image showed a great white shark. Its massive body was rendered in perfect detail. From the rough gray skin to the rows of triangular teeth visible in its slightly open mouth, the hologram slowly rotated, giving the assembled beings a complete view of the predator. This is a shark, Danny said. Specifically, a great white shark. They live in our oceans and can grow up to 6 meters in length. Some species grow even larger. The Valkyrie ambassador made a sound that needed no translation. Pure terror. Their bodies are perfectly designed for hunting, Danny continued. They can swim at speeds of over 50 kilometers per hour in short bursts. Their skin is covered in tiny tooth-like structures that reduce drag in the water. Their senses are incredibly sharp. Katie took over the explanation. Sharks can detect electrical fields generated by the muscle movements of other creatures. They can smell a single drop of blood in the water from several kilometers away. They have been evolving for over 400 million years. They are older than dinosaurs. Older than trees. What are dinosaurs? Someone asked from the back of the chamber. Extinct creatures from our planet's past, Katie answered. Giant reptiles that ruled Earth for over 150 million years. Some of them were larger than this chamber. The hologram shifted to show a Tyrannosaurus Rex. The massive predator stood frozen in mid-stride. Its enormous jaws opened to reveal teeth the size of bananas. Even as a hologram, it was terrifying. Several delegates left the chamber. They simply stood up and walked out. No one tried to stop them. This is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, Danny said. It stood about 12 meters long and weighed approximately 9,000 kilograms. It had the strongest bite force of any land animal in Earth's history. Fortunately for us, it went extinct about 66 million years ago. Fortunately, Morthix repeated. What caused its extinction? An asteroid impact, Katie said. A rock approximately 10 kilometers wide struck our planet. The impact caused global devastation. Most large species died, but life continued. Smaller creatures survived and evolved to fill the empty spaces, as the Decian ambassador had recovered enough to speak. You were telling us that your planet was struck by an asteroid large enough to cause mass extinction, and life simply continued. Yes, Danny confirmed. It was not the first mass extinction event in Earth's history, and it was not the last. Life on our planet is remarkably persistent, as are its predators, Katie added. She changed the hologram again. Now it showed a pride of lions, their golden fur and powerful muscles on full display. These are lions. They live on one of our continents called Africa. They hunt in groups, working together to bring down prey much larger than themselves. Group hunting, the Kyrix delegate said. The insectoid species seemed more interested than afraid. We have this concept in our own history, but our hunters were never this large. Lions can weigh up to 250 kilograms, Katie said. They can run at 80 kilometers per hour in short bursts. A single lion is dangerous. A group of them is deadly. Danny changed the hologram once more. This time it showed a saltwater crocodile, its armored body stretched out on a riverbank. Crocodiles, he said. They are among the oldest predators on Earth, almost unchanged for millions of years. The largest species can grow up to 7 meters long and weigh over 1,000 kilograms. They are ambush predators. They wait beneath the surface of the water, completely still, until prey comes close. Then they strike. How fast? Someone asked. From a standstill to full attack in less than a second, Danny replied. The chamber had taken on a strange atmosphere. The initial terror was still present. But something else had joined it. Danny recognized it as the same fascination that humans felt when learning about dangerous things. The same instinct that made people watch horror movies or visit zoos to see predators. Safely behind barriers, Katie decided it was time to move to even more disturbing territory. All of these predators are large and visible. They can be avoided or fought, but they are not the most dangerous things on Earth. There is something worse than these monsters, the Velkari ambassador asked. His voice was barely audible. Much worse, Katie said. Microscopic organisms, bacteria, viruses, things too small to see with the naked eye. She changed the hologram to show a magnified image of various bacteria. The colorful shapes floated in the display, looking almost beautiful. These are bacteria, Katie explained. They exist everywhere on Earth. In the soil, in the water, in the air, in our bodies, in your bodies. Morthix's tentacles had gone completely still again. The average human body hosts trillions of bacteria, Danny said. Most of them are harmless, or even helpful. They help us digest food. They protect us from other more dangerous microorganisms. We could not survive without them. But some of them are dangerous, Katie continued. Some bacteria can cause diseases that kill within days. Throughout human history, bacterial infections have killed billions of people. The chamber was silent. Even the translator seemed to have trouble conveying the concept. And then there are viruses, Danny said. The hologram changed to show various virus structures, even smaller than bacteria. They are not even truly alive by most definitions. They are simply packages of genetic material that invade cells and reprogram them to make more viruses. Your own cells betray you? The Kirix delegate asked. In a sense, yes. Viruses have caused some of the worst disasters in human history. One disease, called the Black Death, killed approximately 1/3 of Europe's population in the 14th century. Another, called the Spanish flu, killed up to 50 million people in the early 20th century. Katie let that information sink in before continuing. We cannot eliminate these threats. They are too numerous, too adaptable. So instead, we developed immune systems. Our bodies are in constant war with microscopic invaders. Every moment of every day, your body is fighting and killing thousands of organisms that are trying to harm you. And you consider this normal? Morthix asked. We consider this life, Danny replied simply. The Theshan ambassador stood again. His earlier hostility had faded, replaced by something that looked almost like respect. Your species fights battles we cannot even see. You carry armies inside your bodies. You share your world with monsters. And yet you survive. We do more than survive, Katie said. We thrive. Humans have spread across every environment on Earth. We have settled the frozen poles and the burning deserts. We have built cities and civilizations. We have created art and music and science. The challenges of our world did not defeat us. They made us stronger. Danny nodded. Every difficulty we faced forced us to become better, to think harder, to work together more effectively, to never give up, no matter how bad things seemed. Morthix floated lower, bringing himself to eye level with the two humans. I am beginning to understand why your species is classified as it is. You are not merely survivors. You are something else entirely. What would you call us? Katie asked. Morthix considered the question for a long moment. Persistent, he finally said. Impossibly, terrifyingly persistent. Danny smiled slightly. That might be the best description of humanity I have ever heard. The Chancellor's tentacles rippled in what might have been acknowledgement. But I still have questions. You have told us about the dangers of your world. Now tell us what humans do about them. Tell us how you respond to living in such a place. Katie and Danny exchanged another look. This was the part of their presentation they had been waiting for. Chancellor, Danny said, let me tell you about what humans do for fun. The council chamber had settled into an uneasy quiet. The delegates had heard about the horrors of Earth, about its crushing gravity and corrosive atmosphere and deadly predators. They thought they understood what they were dealing with. They were wrong. Danny changed the holographic display once more. It now showed a mountain peak covered in snow and ice, with a tiny figure climbing near the top. This is Mount Everest, Danny said. It is the highest point on Earth's surface, nearly 9 kilometers above sea level. The air at the summit contains only about 1/3 of the oxygen found at sea level. Temperatures regularly drop below -40 degrees Celsius. Winds can exceed 200 kilometers per hour. A hostile environment, Morthix observed. I assume no humans live there. No humans live there permanently, Katie agreed. But they visit frequently? Visit. For what purpose? Danny smiled. To reach the top. The silence that followed was profound. Morthix's tentacles twitched in patterns that suggested deep confusion. I do not understand, the Chancellor admitted. You climb this mountain despite the danger. Despite the conditions that would kill you? Because of them, in some ways, Katie explained. Climbing Everest is considered one of the greatest challenges a human can undertake. Thousands of people have done it. Many of them did it without supplemental oxygen. They chose to breathe even less of the corrosive gas. The Velkari ambassador asked weakly. Yes, some climbers consider using oxygen tanks to be cheating. The Feshan ambassador made a sound that the translator interpreted as disbelief. Your species deliberately seeks out deadly challenges for no practical purpose. Danny considered the question. Not for no purpose. We do it to test ourselves. To prove what we are capable of. To experience something extraordinary. When a human stands on top of Everest, they have accomplished something difficult and dangerous. They have pushed beyond their normal limits. This feeling is important to us. Katie changed the hologram to show an underwater scene. A human diver in a small submersible was descending into deep blue darkness. This is the Mariana Trench, she said, the deepest part of our ocean. The bottom is nearly 11 kilometers below the surface. The pressure there would crush most objects instantly. Light does not reach it. Strange creatures live in that darkness. Things that have never seen the sun, and humans go there, Morthix said. It was not a question. Yes, we have sent crewed vessels to the bottom. The first time was in 1960. Since then, others have followed. We go there to explore, to learn, to see what no one has seen before. The Morvax delegate rippled in its tank. Even we, who live our entire lives in water, would not venture to such depths. The pressure would destroy us. Humans have developed technology to survive it, Danny said. We build machines that can withstand conditions we cannot, and then we climb inside them and go to places that should be impossible. He changed the hologram again. This time it showed a rocket launching, fire and smoke billowing from the engines as it rose into the sky. This is how we first left our planet, Danny said. Chemical rockets. Controlled explosions. We strapped ourselves to containers of volatile fuel and ignited it. That sounds like a weapon, the Curix delegate observed. The technology was derived from weapons, yes. The first rockets were built for war, but we adapted them for exploration. The first humans to leave Earth did so sitting on top of what was essentially a barely controlled bomb. Katie continued the explanation. Early space travel was extremely dangerous. Rockets failed frequently. Several astronauts died during launches or re-entries. But for every person who died, 10 more volunteered to take their place. The chance to be among the first humans in space was worth the risk to them. Worth dying for? Morthix asked. Worth the risk of dying for, Danny clarified. There is a difference. We did not want to die, but we accepted that death was possible. The goal was important enough to justify that acceptance. The Veshan ambassador had moved to the edge of his platform, leaning forward with an intensity that surprised Danny. What was the goal? What drove your species to take such risks? Katie answered. Curiosity. The desire to know what was out there, to see new things. To go where no one had gone before? Humans cannot see a frontier without wanting to cross it. It is part of who we are. Danny nodded in agreement. When our ancestors looked up at the night sky, they wondered what the stars were. When they learned that other worlds existed, they wanted to visit them. When they developed the technology to leave Earth, they did not hesitate. They climbed into those rockets and flew into the unknown. The hologram changed to show the surface of the moon, with an astronaut standing beside an American flag. This is our moon, Danny said. The first humans walked there in 1969. They traveled over 380,000 kilometers through the vacuum of space, landed on an airless world, walked on its surface, and returned home safely. They did this using technology less powerful than the device that translates our words right now. Impossible, someone in the crowd muttered. Improbable, Katie corrected. But not impossible. Nothing is impossible to humans. We simply have not found it yet. Morthix floated in silence for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quieter than before. I have been a member of this council for over 500 cycles. I have met representatives from nearly every species in the known galaxy. I have never encountered anything like you. Is that good or bad? Danny asked. I do not know yet, Morthix admitted. Tell me this. You have described how humans seek out danger, how they climb impossible mountains and dive to impossible depths and fly into the void on controlled explosions. But surely there are humans who do not do these things. Surely most of your species lives quiet, safe lives. Katie laughed softly. The sound made several nearby delegates flinch. Chancellor, there is no such thing as a safe life on Earth. Even humans who never climb mountains or dive deep oceans face daily dangers. We travel in vehicles that move at over 100 kilometers per hour, surrounded by other vehicles doing the same. We eat food that must be prepared correctly, or it will poison us. We keep animals in our homes that have the teeth and claws of predators. You live with predators. The Velkari ambassador asked. We call them pets, Danny said. Dogs are descended from wolves, pack hunters that our ancestors domesticated tens of thousands of years ago. Cats are small predators that we invited into our homes to hunt vermin. We form emotional bonds with these creatures. We consider them family. You tamed predators and made them your companions, Morthix said slowly. And it is not just predators. Humans form connections with almost everything. Other species, plants, even machines. We have a capacity for attachment that sometimes surprises even us. The Deshan ambassador spoke again. You mentioned that you form bonds with machines. What do you mean? Danny thought about how to explain this. When humans work with a tool or a vehicle for long enough, we begin to think of it as having a personality. We give our ships names. We talk to our computers. We feel sadness when a machine we have used for years finally breaks down. It is not rational, but it is very human. You anthropomorphize everything, the Curix delegate observed. You project your own characteristics onto other things. Yes, Katie agreed. We cannot help it. We see ourselves in everything around us. We imagine that stars have stories, and that mountains have moods, and that the universe itself might have a purpose. Morthix's tentacles moved in a complex pattern. You are saying that humans do not merely interact with the universe. You try to form a relationship with it. Donnie nodded. That might be the best way to describe it. We do not see ourselves as separate from the cosmos. We see ourselves as part of it. Everything we do, from climbing mountains to exploring space, is our way of engaging with something larger than ourselves. The chamber was quiet again, but the quality of the silence had changed. It was no longer the silence of fear. It was the silence of beings trying to understand something fundamentally alien to their experience. I believe Morthix finally said that it is time for the council to deliberate. We have heard much today that requires careful consideration. Danny and Katie both nodded. They had said what they came to say. Now it was up to the galaxy to decide what to do about it. The deliberation lasted 8 standard hours. Danny and Katie waited in a small chamber adjacent to the main council hall. They had been given food and water. Though the alien attendants who brought it seemed nervous about approaching too, closely tucked Katie sat on a bench designed for a species much larger than humans, her feet dangling above the floor. How do you think it's going? Danny stood by the window, looking out at the vast space station that housed the Galactic Council. Thousands of ships moved in the darkness, carrying beings from hundreds of different worlds. Hard to say. We scared them, that's for certain. That was the plan, wasn't it? Part of it. Danny turned away from the window. We needed them to understand that humanity is different, that we cannot be ignored or dismissed. But fear alone will not get us what we want. They have to see something more. Hope. Katie suggested, maybe, or at least potential. The door to their chamber opened. A Vesian aide entered, moving with the careful grace of his species. The council has reached a decision. Your presence is requested. Danny and Katie followed the aide back to the main chamber. The atmosphere had changed dramatically since they left. The fear was still present, visible in the way some delegates avoided looking directly at them. But there was something else now, something harder to define. They took their positions in the circle of light. High Chancellor Morthix floated at the center of the chamber, his tentacles moving in slow, deliberate patterns. Representatives of humanity, Morthix began. The Council has deliberated on your request for membership. The discussion was extensive and at times difficult. Many concerns were raised. Danny remained still, his face carefully neutral. Beside him, Katie did the same. Your species presents challenges that this council has never faced before, Morthix continued. You come from a world of impossible conditions. You possess a biology that terrifies us. Your history contains violence and conflict on a scale that most species cannot imagine. By any rational measure, you should not be admitted to this body. Katie felt her heart sink. This was not the beginning of a positive announcement. However, Morthix said, and the words seemed to hang in the air, rational measures may not be sufficient to address the reality of your species. Danny's eyebrows rose slightly. This was unexpected. The Council has concluded that humanity will achieve interstellar capability regardless of our decision today. Your species has already demonstrated the technology and the will to expand beyond your home system. Within a few generations, you will be a significant presence in this galaxy, whether we welcome you or not. The Thessian ambassador rose from his platform. I opposed humanity. Admission. I want that recorded clearly. But I also recognize that opposition alone is not a strategy. The humans will come regardless. The question before this council was never whether to admit them, but how to shape their relationship with the rest of the galaxy. Another delegate spoke, this one from a species Danny did not recognize. We have fought wars with less dangerous species than humans. Those wars were costly and ultimately pointless. Conflict with humanity would be far worse. Better to establish bonds of cooperation now, while such bonds are still possible.
Morthix nodded slowly.
This was the reasoning that ultimately prevailed. Humanity is being granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. This membership comes with conditions and restrictions that will be detailed in the formal documents. But the core decision stands. You are one of us now. Danny allowed himself a small smile. Thank you, Chancellor. Humanity is honored by this decision. Do not thank us yet, Morthix replied. We are not doing this out of kindness or generosity. We are doing this out of necessity. Your species represents something new in this galaxy, something we do not fully understand. We hope that by bringing you into our community, we can learn to understand you better. Katie spoke up. And perhaps you can help us understand ourselves. Morthix's tentacles paused in their movement. What do you mean? Humanity has always defined itself against challenges, Katie explained. We grow strongest when we have something to overcome. On Earth, that challenge was survival. In space, it was the void itself. But perhaps there are other challenges waiting for us here. Problems that your civilizations have faced for thousands of years. Problems that might benefit from a fresh perspective. The Kyrix delegate clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. You are offering to help us. We are offering to try, Danny said. Humanity has never backed away from a difficult problem. If there are challenges facing this council that have no solution, let us attempt them. We might fail. But we might also succeed in ways you have not considered. Morthix floated lower, bringing himself close to the two humans. You are remarkable creatures. Terrifying. Yes. Dangerous, certainly. But also remarkable. I begin to see why your species has survived despite everything your world has thrown at you. What do you see? Katie asked. Hope, Morthix said. Unreasonable, irrational hope. The belief that any problem can be solved, any obstacle overcome, any challenge met. Most species would look at your homeworld and see only death. You look at it and see a home. Most species would look at the void of space and see only emptiness. You look at it and see opportunity. This quality, this relentless optimism in the face of horror, it is unlike anything we have encountered before. Danny nodded slowly. We call it human spirit. The refusal to give up no matter how bad things get. The determination to keep fighting, keep trying, keep hoping, even when logic says there is no point. It is irrational, the Thessian ambassador said. Yes, Katie agreed. And it has kept our species alive for 300,000 years. Irrationality has its uses. The chamber fell silent for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, the Veshan ambassador made a sound that the translators struggled with. It took Danny a moment to realize it was laughter. Irrationality has its uses, the ambassador repeated. I will remember that phrase for a very long time. The formal proceedings concluded shortly after. Documents were transmitted, agreements recorded, and the bureaucratic machinery of galactic governance set into motion. Danny and Katie stood through all of it, answering questions and providing clarifications as needed. When it was finally over, they walked together through the corridors of Station Meridian Prime, heading back to their ship. The other beings they passed gave them a wide berth, but the reactions were different now. There was still fear, still caution, but there was also curiosity, and in some cases, something that looked almost like respect. We did it, Katie said quietly. We're actually in the first step, Danny replied. The real work starts now. We have to prove that their trust was not misplaced. Do you think we can? Danny considered the question carefully. They were walking past a viewport that looked out on the endless stars. Somewhere out there, far away, was Earth, a small blue marble of a world, insignificant in the vast cosmic scale. But it had produced something unique. Something that had clawed its way up from the mud and the blood and the fire to stand among the stars. I think, Danny said finally, that humanity has faced worse odds before. We survived ice ages and plagues and extinction events. We survived ourselves, which was the hardest challenge of all. Compared to what our ancestors overcame, this should be easy. Katie smiled. Nothing about this will be easy. No, but when has that ever stopped us? They continued walking, two small figures in a vast station filled with alien life. Behind them, in the council chamber, representatives of 200 species were still processing what they had witnessed. The universe would never look quite the same to them again. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy, for better or worse, would have to adapt. As Danny and Katie approached their ship, a young Velkari stepped out of the shadows. The crystalline being was smaller than the ambassador they had met earlier, possibly a junior aide or student. Excuse me, the Velkari said. Its voice was soft and hesitant. I wanted to ask you something, if you do not mind. Katie turned to face the being. Of course, what would you like to know? The Velkari seemed to struggle with the question for a moment. Are you really not afraid? Of your world. Of all the things you described? Danny thought about how to answer. We are afraid, he admitted. Humans feel fear just like anyone else. But we have learned not to let fear stop us. We feel it, acknowledge it, and then move forward anyway. How? The Velkari asked. How do you do that? Katie knelt down to bring herself closer to the young alien's eye level. Practice, she said gently. A lifetime of practice. We train ourselves to act despite fear. We learn from those who came before us. We support each other through difficult moments. Fear is part of being alive, but it does not have to control us. The Valkyrie was quiet for a long moment. Then it did something that surprised both humans. It stepped closer, closing the distance that its species normally kept from dangerous things. "Thank you," the Valkyrie said. "I think I understand a little better now." It turned and walked away, leaving Danny and Katie standing by the airlock of their ship. "Well," Danny said, "that might be the most important conversation we had today." Katie nodded. "One being at a time. That's how change happens." They boarded their ship and began the journey home. Behind them, Station Meridian Prime continued its slow orbit, carrying the hopes and fears of a galaxy that was just beginning to understand what humanity truly meant. And somewhere in the council chamber, High Chancellor Morthix looked at the empty circle of light, where the humans had stood and wondered what the future would bring. Whatever it was, he suspected it would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen.